Hello, humanity. I refer to you often as the species value nature system, as little rap guy and friends do, to teach you about why a species is what it is in demonstration of, distinctly and non distinctly from, while as the same shared identity as value as humanity. But our individual species, why there are species, because of how and why one identity of value progression will only stay complete nature one way, while simultaneously exceptions in exception nature are how it will only stay that one way simultaneously where that is not true. It is simultaneously a demonstration of it where it is not true. So this is an obligation per the science of logic actually proper. For example, in demonstration of five connected semi-natures of sequence nature, identities of sequence nature that are distinct as one trinity's relationship to itself that is making more trinities, where and as and how each identity attaches to 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 the identity of value progression that is the value of all individual ones grouped and together at once. Now, this is a science by this identity of value progression. The ancients valued that we don't agree, that and how we don't agree on the name of God, on the name of this identity. That's value. Because then we're going by what's really valued true always to each group and to the species nature of volume unity, each nature of unity. See, we have unity with little kids where they're making them make treatments of positive and negative as criminal insidiousness natures. Then they're going to have to defend that. And though they're going to have to blame the causes of it on other things other than themselves for time reasons. This is a worse than racketeering method. I'm not a lawyer, not a peaceful, not a criminal. This is a worse than racketeering method, worse than war crimes method, simple racketeering method that used that keeps what is unnatural pretended natural, for example. And this is where and how, as and how the extent of positive we are, it is inseparable from an identity of value progression that is also distinctly and not distinctly onto itself from before it's in this state where it's coming from and has the value of temporary positive, temporary negative. Each identity of value has 2 points of possession on both sides of it, two on the right side and two on the left side, because, for example, manifest because of how this identity of its complete identity of volume's complete identity of relationship to itself, this self-generating, this the extent of it had control over all parts of space nature at once, where space, where and as and how space and existence share an identity distinctly and non-distinctly, and as an extra identity. That identity they are as a trinity, space, existence, and the identity they are together in this value. It's increasing value. The identity they are and the identity that was taken away from them, they can't be made less identity. This is identity as a nature that only increases, but that was coupled by their complete nature. This is how we'll learn this. This is an identity of relationship to the ground manifest because before matter is and how matter is distinctly and non-distinctly onto its identity of relationship to itself. One complete nature of volume that is simultaneously inherent and active in a progressive nature of volume. Where and how it is active is where we come to how and why this is called, I'm calling this algebraic consciousness. This is where and how most probably the ancients, since before the messengers of modern religions, thank God for them, preservation of English grammar, for example. That's why when Jesus Christ has the capital A drawn on the left side of his head and the capital W on the right side of his head, no, as two capital V's, victory. See, victory can be a negative value nature. This is in relationship to another nature, a value nature progression, though, and its identity of relationship to onto the Trinity natures of volume, and its identity of relationship to itself bigger than this, bigger than right will ever be, because it generated all this temporary slash lasting space nature to make more of its nature of volume, its of as its identity, as forever nature, which we are, to the contribution of the perfection of its perfect per value progression, where we are demonstrably most probably closest to the inherent nature of volume, of one nature of volume that has semi-natures only because the way it will only stay complete, though. That's just a phenomenon. And see, this is the first algebraic the ancients, they valued not agreeing on the name of God. God was demonstrably revealed, most probably revealed as a variable, an algebraic variable, with the discernment of this identity of value progression attached to and as the value of all other physical and metaphysical value systems individually grouped and together. Because this is volume science. One identity is making more Trinity nature. These five invisible but still discernible identities of and as itself. It's how one Trinity is one way where it is making more identities as identity. In other words, like our identity, our consciousness. Why would it be only ours when we were generated by what generated matter in the first place? It had to be generated. This is science. That is what is true. All see, but then what becomes evidence is where and how. For example, scientific consensus is criminally foreign influenced originally and still. That's recorded. When people make opinions about what is natural, what is unnatural in relationship to slavery, uses of color with all these crazy laws, they leave out the other crazy laws. That's worse than to divide and conquer and pseudo care for pretend care as criminal ceases natures of positive treatment. So they pretend to be against prejudice. Because each age of fact treatment nature, they need to leave parted from what nature needs that age to be aware of. That wisdom is not experience but through deed. In other words, what is true always is we're in a value nature systems tactically ulterior from the ones that a positive is really about. So we have maintenance to each age of fact treatment nature using other people's names, calling them names, and that's just life. To take it personal. That's being used to prevent when people are noting. I'm telling you, I've been asking since before the Trade Center to attack to actually recorded, because they're pretending other things recorded into database to hide it. Connecticut courts with criminal uses of the identity of the ground related locations, and with other nations, a whole bunch of them. And as overt criminal enterprises inclusion with them private ones originally and still. That's not hard. That's not hard. It's only hard to just when people jump in with opinions that are dishonest. That's not politics either, but that's maintained because they already maintained the identity of each branch to collusion with crime methods against human people, individually grouped and together, each person of each identity of each branch that they have already used and value the having been used. Quality of fact, cheaping nature, that is not true always. That's why we have to understand also these five bonded identities, and simultaneously as three, the way it is, three bonded. How could it be five if it's three? Because it's three in matter. It's three there. We'll examine value nature has a value slash value nature relationship to itself, and that slash is where and how each place, each position, each thing, even a rock, is a gaining value as a nature of volume, not as consciousness, but as Earth's value relationship to consciousness is value. This is where the invisible. The English is about the invisible but clear. See, that's why they drew the A the way they did, because now we're talking about the invisible but still discernible inside the A. Simultaneously, that is value. This is about what is causing the species to be valued as individual, grouped, and species nature of volume as three natures of volume, distinctly, non-distinctly, and simultaneously value to a body that is they are together. That they are just like a little cell inside of. See, we are negative value nature relationship now to humanity. You cannot legalize criminal foreign influences. Modern religions were aware that before they were even born, the messengers of modern religions. Thank God. That means I think that thank the identity of space of all things at once for them, because the damage control. And they did more than that, but it's not enough unless we finish allowed to be demonstrated what they're talking about in the beginning of the Old Testament and of the Quran. And this is in relationship to all the religions. This is a relationship to how free speech hasn't had been allowed anything but identity racketeering, forced not told on. The same way with slavery, forced not told on because it was being forced by through criminal foreign influences, not by accident. Everyone involved with that blaming the real causes of it on other things other than selves. That's one of the reasons is you can't tell American history true and our founders' identity defend it if you don't understand that and how demonstrably nations A through Z and tribes A through Z before our founders were even born, for all kinds of time reasons, everything like that, for the method used against them, they were forced to blame other things others themselves and to self-value that. Well, I have to do that. It's not the perfect world. Forget it. Things like that. In relationship to database racketeering, that was involved with the methods that you have to take and the identity, the ground relationships that you have to take to force anyone to partake with slavery in any way. You have to have a sick formal base in intersciences, self-valued, victim, predator, victim, too, slaves. In fact, treating nature slaves, regardless if they have money. Now they're going to compare themselves. They're going to value that self-compare because their identity they're victim predators. They don't know identity's course. Boxings of source alone. They'll drop the force, come home. Can't be smart. She needs the names. Return. Who trains? Not one has learned. Boxings. So this is about nature's nature. The Trinity. These are simultaneously valued. Otherwise, their unity is negative value nature. Criminal ceaseless nature is a positive theater. Self-valuing precedence that is formal, informal, overtly criminal enterprises, private, juxtaposed, not by accident. Manifest. Each age of fact, cheaping nature valued by all associated with that. Hurt, not by accident, against people that people don't even know each other. Opinions dishonest, preventing people from demonstrating basic science, what's wrong with nature. They need to call it environment because because of they have to keep play positive. They were never were. They need to keep people blaming leaders because so one person, so if anyone gets to a position of free speech, you can't have it there either, distinctly and non-distinctly. How every other area is not let free speech. How every other nature is tortured not to have free speech, and the more they try, the more they pretend not to understand them, the more they forge names, switch names, fake whole categorical conversations with people and relationships between people into databases, private, formal, intercampuses, interbranch, and other. Originally and still, that's how they kept those branches, crime methods, and natures they need to hide from and hurt and value her, each age of correlation nature, each age of positive treatment nature. That's not positive. They need simultaneously, where and how there are simultaneous answers, immediate reliefs are realizable now. Even if they have to be artistic, what they have to be if not artistic, real, gain. It only feels like gain this way alone. That is no gain. Who'll train? Let science speak. Free speech. Connecticut interstates. Recorded, all private tied to them. Roles. Victims. If you try to describe them as victims, then you can't. They're already inclusion with courts that kept them this way. Those courts, those police forms already kept inclusion. This is not a theory. They are recorded. All other nations, Russians and Americans, inclusion against their own, ours against our own, with conspiracy theories. On a mass scale, they've been drugging people. Then they talk about the economy like it's positive. On a mass scale, they've been made, excuse me, valuing maintenance. DJ of fact should be nature, blaming the real causes of negative value nature progressions. Value nature progressions, acts, and natures. Acts like predicate acts. Natures like criminal and insidious natures. Blamed on other things, others, and selves. Of course, these overt criminal enterprises are recorded how maintained, motivated to be in collusion with the branches of government. As styles of liars kept needing to value the same, kept needing to hide the same sequence shifts. That's treatments of positive as the 5 identities of sequence nature, which are demonstrably bonded. As the value of the order, the finite, active, and progressive in our range. While here, the means are clear, the means appear. So one complete nature fills it. The ancients probably referred to this as the heartbeat of Allah, where space is made a semi-nature distinct from existence, and existence is simultaneously made a semi-nature distinct from, but while still as space, and the value taken away from them was made another value, and that was made capable of being the identity of relationship, that the identity of a complete nature of volume as its identities, its identity of itself, and it's the value that has, which is the perfect value progression. It's not just a value. It's not just perfect value progression. That is as the identity attached to all questions. That is as the identity bigger than the right to left, that distinctly and non-distinctly, while being bigger than and smaller than the left to right too, distinctly and non-distinctly and simultaneously, that algebra could ever be. Any equation is inside this natural volume's identity of relationship to itself and the value of that. in the value of that, the value of that, which is complete natures, complete identity of relationship to itself, which is a trinity. Because this is one identity of relationship to the order of the finite, the order of the active, the order of the progressive. The same way, distinctly, non-distinctly, and simultaneously, this is the identity that space and that existence share themselves as complete natures of complete identities of value progression, simultaneously while being semi-nature relationships to what is generating them as more and more nature of volume, as its own complete nature filling in what it made incomplete, to make more, to make itself more, to make them more. And so it becomes a circuit, distinctly, non-distinctly, and simultaneously, as the value to the order of physics, as the value to the order of metaphysics, distinctly, non-distinctly, and simultaneously, as the value of identity, nature, as forever nature, as the value of all three of those at once, as a complete nature of relationship to itself, simultaneously, where and how that is not true too, where and how we're a semi-nature. This is why we are an individual while being a sex, an age, an area. This is why this is about culture, identity, real culture, which is about this trinity, which is an identity of relationship to itself since before matter, then while being the value of matter, and while being from beyond the value of matter another way too, at the same time value here. That's what science shows. See, but we have people want to debate this pejoratively, with physical delusions juxtaposed into branch, not by accident, pretending they don't realize that because it's proven, it's recorded. I mean, it's recorded, not just proven. Way more should have been proven. We need reliefs. See, but we have each position of this is also how we have to address how the sequence, we have sequence racketeering roles with everyone's opinions. When they press hard for leaders, they're pressing with no, now they're going home defending that. That's their premise treatments. Attack with no premise treatment. And that's, oh, this is the science says. Common sense says this is about nature. This we have identity ground relation. We have a pathology of homes that were involved with the fact, cheapening nature, torture, and slavery of our founders, let alone the people hurt most by that. Crazy laws they had. Steal where everyone just write whatever in databases. Identity of the law, identities of titles, forged in this method that made everyone invest in engineering of all identities of a shared identity unity as criminal incestuous nature. Unity that was forged to force and stay defenses of pseudo-positive. That's why we have to have this, understand how this trinity is a trinity as a trinity distinctly, while as life, distinctly, non-distinctly, and simultaneously, while it is what is that from also before it, and at the same time from beyond it another way, as five semi-natures. Because that way, it is also demonstrably this trinity where space and existence are semi-natures of volume filling, as temporary / lasting forever nature, as semi-nature relationships, also where and how this science reveals that identity nature, each identity is connected. because we're dealing with the invisible but discernible. It also has a hierarchy of sequence nature, while having this identity of relationship to itself as a reaction nature. For example, with the creation of criminal insidiousness natures of positive treatments, quality of fact, treatment nature, logic style, tied to the identity of the ground, relationship to our quality of fact, treatment nature, native, pure, lost. Nature's, see, that's where we come into nature's nature. Has to be positive to all three at once. The order to the finite, the order to the active, and the order to the progressive. See, we have the pathology of infrastructure again, designed, forced with the fact, cheap nature, torture, and slavery of our founders, only capable of causing negative value nature progressions, acts, and natures. Natures like criminal insidiousness natures, wrongdoers. I'm not a lawyer now, please, for I'm not a criminal. Thank God. The bar itself is recorded delusions, wrought, and criminally foreign influenced, and pretending other. How that is maintained, justified, valued is in relationship to peace agreement, peace, fact treatment, dispute resolution that keeps identities behind the scenes here and there that are criminally foreign influenced, again, in delusions, wrought, and pretending other. And that forced self-value, because we don't have to have trade agreements where value in nature systems tactically ulterior from this one that that was obligated to demonstrate that and how the pathology of modern cities. It was engineered to only be allowed to be roles, each position of the human fact treatment nature, individually grouped and all together. Even kings and even pharaohs prevented anything but collusion with state scenarios, logic, racketeering styles. Treatments and needs by fake positive, the perfect world forsaken, not by accident, that already having been roles with the exploitation of each age of fact treatment nature, where and as and how it counts. One way amounts, vaccines. It tells all things if let. Not just proper rest, but the campus preserved proper. I tell best vaccines. I tell you things. So we're gonna have Jesus Christ. There are proofs that Jesus Christ and that Julius Caius are states of self-value difference in relationship to where and how, identity, the ground, locations, like campuses, which are concentrated value. And this is again in where criminal insidiousness nature attaches keeps truth as lies. So we have to not only understand what is true always and not denying exceptions, but where and as and how they've been pretending to be that. And actually be the extent of it, how they're hiding it. This is how we have to address the database racketeering that American history is really about. That was already entrenched here, worse than that, before and while being that. It was first an identity of the ground relationship to our quality of fact treatment nature. Our quality of not just education, our quality of fact treatment nature. By and as the value of 5 inseparably connected identities of sequence nature. That sequence nature is value to itself. The identity of value progression that reveals as us as its identity of relationship to itself. The phenomenon of Earth, distinct and non-distinct relationship to itself, where evolution's fruits and gifts come out of nowhere. Negative, positive value nature progressions, acts and natures. Gifts greater than Santa Claus's gifts, individually grouped and all together, could ever be. In demonstration of this, Santa Claus, Saint Nicholas came around This was already entrenched since before the modern religions messengers were born. We already took everyone to roles as victim predators within as identities of criminally re-engineered sciences. And so fact-cheaping nature uses of all identity the ground locations like the branches of government, which includes the military, originally and still with them, criminally foreign influenced with overt criminal enterprises and with private ones, and with people all areas kept needing to hide the same finite, active, progressive lies, sequence shifts, identity theft, frauds, and racketeering roles against everyone. So we have maintenance, we have movements no one's watching. They have no premises but what's telling people to have use argument. They have different as the people pretending all those differences that are natural. We can't discern them lying. They're sequence racketeering. They're interbranch stacking things into databases. Crimes with their kids, when men and women interbranch, all their colleagues tied to them. Prosecutors here and there. See how they're out fighting about prosecutors, and they have a shared. What is our interest with the prosecutor over there? What is their interest over here? That's how they keep them defending identities as breaching screens and tools, as victims, but as victim predators, to keep anyone from demonstrating how they're victims. Because then everyone understands how to cause positive value. The ancients couldn't fathom that humanity would forget how to cause negative, positive value nature progressions, acts and natures, and reveal evolution's fruits and gifts by using the science of the identity of value progression. That is one that you're not supposed to agree on the name of it. Only in relationship to each identity, the ground locations, or grouped, and communications, not about ttheir positive treatments. For example, these messengers demonstrably were aware that the people that were going to preserve the religions, the religious books, as identity ground, value relationships to our quality of fact-cheaping nature, they were going to do so as criminal insidiousness nature, already forced, legalized. You can't legalize that and stand understood. All that is capable of being understood instantly by each age of fact-cheaping nature. We had this worst and obfuscated, simultaneously pseudo cared for. Pseudo peace. Peace! Campus Marcius rises in the east. I forgot what I was going to say now. So this is important. This is nature's nature. It's nature. The only way you can discern what the identity of space is, what's really going to cause evolution, what's really proper quality, practical value treatments, for example, is by using this method. That's going to be positive onto these 5 orders of finite at the same time. Five orders of identities of sequence nature. Just the same way we are identities of sequence nature. States, areas, states, and nations. Nations, states, nations, and species. Value has a value/value nature relationship to itself. So the cell has a complete identity of volume. It is a trinity. It is a cell nucleus. It is a cell body. It is a cell wall. But it is simultaneously a semi-nature, as positive or negative. It is positive or negative, whereas now one simultaneous nature is inseparable from all others. So it is the value of that semi-nature to that simultaneous nature, which is positive or negative. distinctly and non-distinctly onto 5 identities of sequence nature. The order of the finite is an identity of sequence nature, an order of value progression. The order to the active is a value, is an order to, is an identity of sequence nature. What is active value? Distinctly and non-distinctly sharing the identity with the order of the finite. No. Sharing the identity of the order of progressive value now and to come by what is even, again, bigger than right to left will ever be and bigger than left to right will ever be. Simultaneously, as one identity's identity of relationship to itself. That one making more forever nature as an identity of volume that never leaks. The physical parts could go away. The physical parts are only hyper temporary value, where we hyper value because they can make more and more forever nature. That allows the perfection, the perfect value progression that will only be of this circuit. The value of space and of existence and of their shared identity differentially, too, increasingly, in relationship to the complete identity of relationship to itself, as that identity of leverage that can make more of what could be as itself from the state it can't be, but one way, which is this value transfer, where it simultaneously took away but increased 3 ways the value of a space, existence, and the identity they are together. Where and how this identity is the one that will only allows everything connected to itself, and as its value progression system, as the identity that really answers all questions properly. So someone could know more about me than algebra in physics. Simultaneously, I could demonstrate to you right now how I can know more than them right now. Intersciences, originally and still, how everyone can, especially with sequence true. So we have sequence self-valued, defended untrue. The branches of government, hundreds of nations that are liars. And this is because of this crime method against each age of fact, should be nature simultaneously sickly. So while each area had this on it, simultaneously sickly, distinctly, and to keep out sickly non-distinctly from being discerned. Per the method, simultaneously upon this nation and upon each modern nation, that which American history and that which other histories told truly are really that it's really about. It's about what was unnatural. Just because something happens doesn't mean it's natural. See, there is pseudo-natural, and what's natural has a complete nature. Where that complete nature is denied, the perfect world forsaken, that's not by accident. That's only capable of self-valuing logic racketeering styles of liars in relationship to nature. Now, there are proofs that all the mosquito problems are increasing, so we could. This is an identity of negative value nature progression, demonstrating that now we're on other value nature systems than the one that causes positive value nature progressions, acts, and natures, the fruits and gifts of evolution. English grammar was English. All parts of English are about volume science. Revealed to teach about evolution science. English was revealed to teach about evolution. Value Z stands for the zenith. This is where and as and how one identity, one volume of positive forever nature will only keep increasing by the perfection of an identity that is making more positive, that is also positive onto itself through what is negative as its identity. We're not supposed to agree on the name as value to make sure we're right about this identity. We have to separate when we're not sure. Value G, God. And when we're right, it's giving or not. That's still, it's not just always giving. It's only always giving when we're doing it right. This is what we'll come to this. This is why the Trinity is important. Because it's not either it's giving or it's not. Value J. What if it's giving to pseudo-positive? Like criminal insidiousness natures of positive and logic racketeering roles. Originally and still recorded, everyone rolls, blaming the real causes of sick things like that on other things and others themselves. That's what that was designed for. That was to keep a minority archetypal criminal enterprise, worse than war crimes, worse than racketeering method, simple racketeering method. Keeping styles of logic racketeering. Keeping styles of our identity of volumes, value relationship to the ground, increasingly exploited, and they're increasingly engineered all positions only capable of blaming the real causes of negative value nature progressions, acts, nature, all the things other than self. It's not just because the worms are dying that birds start dying. It's not just one reason why the worms are dying and are gone. Every time it used to rain when I was a kid, different times of the day, whatever, there would be dead worms inside the puddles. Worms used to crawl into ponds. Demonstrably, the original Native Americans, they had the earth as the native machine it is. The Garden of Eden is a scientific variable. Adam and Eve and Romulus and Remus. This goes with the exceptions and exception nature with alpha and omega and yin yang. Yin yang cannot be parted. Where it appears to be true, it is inseparable from the nature of alpha and omega. For example, this is how the ancients would teach us with alpha and omega. Now, see, this is also using evidence reception about what is true always. That uses what pretends is what is practical that is not, as evidence itself. We have states and areas of and as each modern nation criminally foreign influenced and delusions wrought, and then they're recorded how self-valuing it, how maintained each age of fact-achieving nature. Not by accident having political movements, treatments of positive where they have the adults take collusion with kids. That make also note in backgrounds treatments of other people's names. Times as victims, but as victim predators. How everything's presented. Everyone's speaking through other people. That's exploited with a sequence racketeering method. This is again about 5 identities of sequence nature. This is all things at once have this inseparable from itself. So we can figure out before beyond math, the means of math. This is an identity. This is identity of database relationships as an identity of ground relationship that is only incapable of being live progressions from those positions. Because our nature wants our nature and needs our nature to communicate and to discern those live progressions. Those standing live progression cover up nature's needs and styles as, quote, trained, unquote. Because I said I wanted to make words to describe what is intercampuses of each age in nature, interdatabases relationships, roles with everyone speaking to everyone in this originally and still maintained self-value, the real causes of negative value nature progressions, acts, and natures by tribes A through Z. Forced to become with and as nations A through Z. Worse than racketeering, worse than war crimes, simple racketeering method roles with logic racketeering, pseudo-positive, theater positive, motivations, natures, needs, interests to hurt people that they don't even know, preventing free speech, preventing, everyone making opinions. No one's leading. Since before the Trade Center attack, Connecticut was interstates involved with the Trade Center, with foreign and domestic military, with private overt criminal enterprises. Then in the Trade Center attack context, right before it in the Ninth Circuit, post-dated roles with post-dated documents, way worse than just that. Proven afterwards. Post-date documents have been post-dated from inside the court to appear late as they have been presented to the judges from inside the court that way. Post-dated to appear late. Then post-dated have been ruled late, wrong, and that was proven afterward. And that led to a 2006 case now in Connecticut. Also recorded, confessed, and demonstrated involved racketeering with the people interstates involved with on-off CCSU, on-off other Connecticut universities and colleges. Already having been racketeering acts, roles, and illusions with database and on-off with areas crimes tied to that. Because they haven't been called as crimes. And these are also people roles with people charging people for crimes, and they've already done so criminally. They've already been pretending things recorded into databases. This is also, we have inter types of experts, pseudo-positive treatments as real positive treatments, but as criminal insidious nature of positive treatments. As our nature denied its complete nature, the value of its complete nature of relationship to itself, and where and as and how value is the demonstration of identity's course for as forever natures, where it's not just about our complete identity of volume, it's about this complete identity's volume's relationship to itself, as that distinct and non-distinctly as its complete relationship to itself, how it is distinctly and non-distinctly a semi-nature. But it can never be a semi-nature. So even though space and existence are two semi-natures, temporary / lasting, they are simultaneously completed, more than completed by. They are simultaneously gaining completion and value increase by what is self-generating, and by what gave them use their value to make a third value, to make its identity of relationship to itself, and make the value of that as the leverage that can make more positive, more of itself as a forever nature out of nowhere, and increasingly so perfectly. So languages were revealed. The 26 sounds of the English language were revealed with as an identity of relationships to themselves. The same way people are, individual grouped in together. Languages have a value this way. The value is this identity of value progression that is inseparable from all others. So now this is the identity of relativity. The theory of relativity is to keep the identity of energy from being discerned. For example, in relationship to this, they have states and areas of and as modern nations as criminally foreign influence, criminal insidiousness nature that was legalized. It was only known ever legalized, but it was forced legalized. It was forced by what forced everyone to blame all it causes that way on other things other than themselves. And that was engineered. The styles of liars then defending that as the value of this racketeering method before any value nature system positions were had by anyone. So now this may brought humanity into a self-valued identity of negative value nature progression. So we have nations like Russia and America that hurt each other because they have state scenarios, peak leaders, private inter sciences, worse than obfuscating, having obfuscated and having obfuscated the identity the sciences share, simultaneously, differentially, not by accident, too. Then they have to hide lie progressions from databases, see suits and ties. We have treatments of positive. They need. There are juxtaposed natures, consciously juxtaposed, methodically juxtaposed natures of racketeering upon each age of fact-keeping nature in New York City. And they made this is an engineering that made everyone, not just New York City, every city and every nature of a city in the whole world. These are recorded since before cars. Pathology of homes, of means to them, styles of them that were forced with the fact, keeping nature, torture, and slavery of our founders, of everyone, distinctly and non-distinctly, differentially. And this is identity racketeering, and this is preventing free speech and pretending other. This is breaching screens, states and areas. So they keep bringing up the United Nations because these are natures of unity that need to pretend unity is positive. For example, these are natures of stewards of religions that need to reach from the Quran and from the Old Testament out of sequence to speak about what they're speaking about, where logic racketeering is forced entertained by everyone. Because that's the level everyone, that's the state everyone's in. Treatments of positive as criminal and serious nature forced self-value. Forced worse than not free speech. So this is maintenance to this is use of the real cause of negative value nature progression, acts and natures, even down to the mosquito problems, the birds dying, simultaneous natures and demonstration of this, the soil's dying, the science, their evidence reception is not just too slow, it's too fake. It's also because the identity ground locations have been used as victims to keep them self-valuing it, to keep and what kept them originally and still blaming the real causes of it on other things others than self, and self-valuing having done so originally and still. This was entrenched state scenarios since before our founders were born. This was perfected against Native Americans. Time impositions, loss of their identity ground, secure relocation, preservation of educational information. The original ancients value. That's where they brought the revelations of the ancient republic, the databases, relationships before computers, not the sophistication they could be capable of as unity since same ancient times. Be very wary about movements with, so we're not just wary, we have to counter them. This is not just a concert like on MSNBC. They have a Citizens United treatments. This is not when they make treatments of environment. These are people that are the people involved with and as the only ones that could liberate mandated law, that could liberate recorded. They knew that what they engineered forced pretended value. We never had a liberated states and areas of the United States. We never had the surface values of the Constitution defended simultaneously. We have other originally still motivated pretended into databases and enacted into databases, pretended recorded things, box things. That's through criminal foreign influences here and there. For example, involving crime methods, pretending people make conspiracy theories, using psychological, pretending people have mental diagnosis, and then they'll force drugs into people. They'll forge names and switch names and fake whole conversations with people to do so. Various natures of courts. In fact, all the natures of courts and on and off the state judicial branch offices in Connecticut and on and off the state prison offices and houses next to them are involved with a pattern of racketeering since I was a kid, involved with and as ones in like 2000. And since before that, involved intercities, worse than interstates, involved with racketeering, then on off the World Trade Center locations, as 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 criminal uses of victims too in other ways. That has them used as weapons too by the same people that hurt them. Our side's roles. The investigators of that are also recorded and involved with doctors and with various natures of agencies involved with racketeering acts with federal criminals and a whole bunch of foreign and domestic associated with former director of the FBI, Robert Luskin, leading up to and in a 2006 case also, leading up to and into other Connecticut cases. Their racketeering uses of the area tied to their racketeering uses of depositions and of, they have a whole bunch of people associated with Hartford courts and New Britain Superior Court that are also recorded through time involved with Joshua Julian and people associated with everyone indirectly associated with the Leahy family, involved with all kinds of natures of juxtaposed racketeering with various natures of courts and prosecutors, and there are people involved with them with drug clicks, identity thefts, fake conversations with me about legal cases, fake conversations with me about police. I never had a conversation with him in my life. I said yeah one time to him to get him to walk away from me. He tried to conform his body to like pretend I don't know if he's gonna make him trying to make a physical fight, make me verbally react to him. Then I never had a conversation before or after that with him. Never had a conversation there with him. This is one of those guys with his whole family working with a triage, where these are the psychological people involved with police forms, various natures of courts, like a whole bunch of people in the Britain Superior Court involved with a pattern of racketeering acts with him and with various natures of police forms, serious things. And these prisons are also recorded and confessed and demonstrated with themselves and with their family members, with the courts and their family members, how kept criminally foreign influence, how kept needing to hide life aggressions, how kept needing to value each age is simultaneously delicate but inseparable, stronger than strong, simultaneously active and progressive means, even greater than that, always keeping that from its voice and from its realizations and potentials. Now these are people doing things for their kids, not just naturally. They have other motivations, natures, needs, interests juxtaposed, per this method that kept and keeps pseudo-sophistication there and here, suits and ties, fake integrity. When it comes times to follow mandated law, true, they don't do it. They go real hard on some people sometimes when they make mistakes on purpose. In cases with courts, when it comes to differences around what's happening with kids, because they have interbranch kids involved already, retired and standing, involved racketeering uses of them and uses of databases, intercampuses, private and other, and uses of the reactions to people tied to that, which is simultaneously reactions tied to uses of FBI and of CIA, where they're directed to pretend that's integrity because of the other nations are peaceful disputes, where neither of them are integrity, not by accident. This is per a method that stays fluent through our nations, suits and dies. We have no practice. We have no integrity standing. So I'll tell you many ways. Those kids playing games, video systems, and stuff like that. This is a pathology this identity of negative value nature progression that is lost from identity's course. The ancients couldn't believe we would lose it. We're going to lose Earth's value forever. That's our value as nature. Nature is value. Being made every moment as a quality of diffusion. This is only temporary hyper positive relationship to itself. And when it's not allowed to be that more and more, it's forced from here, leads to IDs. This is why humanity is fake sides, one identity of value, nature, progression, self-value, going to space. You're still sick identity ground relationships. All you have to do is say, release the zoning laws and give them one tractor to one person who's gonna use. If you give me one tractor to say the zoning laws, give an exploited area in YouTube, and forget about it. It's done. The species needs its pantheism back. We don't need a pseudo unity constructed, and we need the kids with their passions and emotions allowed to be full. You see, they're pretending they're for that by keeping it full fake. That's what the environment's about. That's what using a leader's name is about. They're to keep them knaves for the states and areas knaves. Criminally foreign influence uses of the Wethersfield town offices, per the racketeering method with this town that George Washington had to leave overt slavery in, even with the French general's help, who disbelieves. Have them pick one's his name in sequence, please. Now, put them in the fucking paper. We don't have more time. Yeah, I'll demonstrate to you that and how why I'm recorded consciously. They know that there are infrastructural positions, identity of relationship to the identity of the branches of government individually grouped and together that are in collusion with what is consciously not only preventing but offensively self-valuing, sabotaged offensively, quality of fact, cheaping nature of each age of fact, cheaping nature, logic, racketeering roles, needs and natures, free speech. WFSB attached me to fake locations. They attached my family and myself to fake ties to other people, fake words, fake locations, fake relationships to others. They recorded, confessed, and demonstrated, did this with prosecutors, with their own kids involved, with a principal sex offender with them, with other natures of racketeering, and with more child offenders, even sexual and even medical, further then and now with that same campus. As people also recorded, confessed, and demonstrated and confirmed further on off the other campuses in town and intercities tied to this. And their uses of that are also recorded. How they're pretending others is recorded. Whole bunch of people tied to CCSU from my town. I don't know. They were trying to pretend other by how they were roles trying to pretend things recorded when they were kids, and that's recorded, confessed, and demonstrated too. You have to understand how grouped the executive and the judicial branch have all kinds of sick racketeering uses of each age of fact, treatment, nature, and identity of the ground location. This is also together because they have the political families, how maintained, involved with evidence racketeering, database racketeering, identity thefts, frauds, worse. So we must all rehearse boxing. I tell you things alone. This is about nature's course. And see, there is one identity that is true always, not that exceptions, but you can't discern that as simple as they think. And with their fake recorded things, these are people sicker than most killers who would stick someone in a prison. Now, those prison leaderships are recorded with their families just like the courts, how maintained criminally foreign influence needed to hide the same sequence racketeering, acts, roles. The same finite, active, progressive lies roles, identity racketeering roles on a mass scale here and there. It's not just for the motivations apparent and always only claimed. Those are all juxtaposed through what really motivates each state scenario's treatments of positive as criminal and ceaseless natures, as logic racketeering, as identity's actual course, as forever nature, where it needs positive and negative relationship to the five identities of sequence nature simultaneously. This is about the identity of relativity. This is not about the theory of relativity. And this science is about how to make theory, how to use theory process properly. See, the theory of relativity is used as one of many devices to keep motivated roles, for example, with the identities of the law, with identities of English, for example, identities of each of the sciences, keeping obfuscated all that the predicate is in demonstration to, and often as the science it is as a nature of volume, where it's the complete nature of volume, but it is more female. It is female. The predicate is the female nature. The male nature is this is where we are semi-nature. Male, female, and the identity, that space, and that the identities, that space, and that existence increasingly share by and as the semi-nature that is increasing, the complete nature that is making it more and more value to and as itself, even though it can't be that, but simultaneously. How it is so simultaneously, increasingly, and sequentially. This is how we can see through the discernible. I mean, that we could connect the invisible but still discernible. English is about the invisible but still discernible, not just inside both sides of the A, the B, the C. See, it's an open C. This is about one identity's open, closed, and bonded relationship to itself, and the order of physics, distinctly and non-distinctly and simultaneously distinct from the order of from and as the order of metaphysics, which is about the science of where our identity is further trinity, that is further self-valued or not, as its complete nature or not. But this is per nature other than these fakes with fakes next to them as victim predators. That's what made slavery. Even black agencies. There's a minority from each country originally, since before modern nations, that made everyone victims. That made everyone devalued fact treatment nature. education, logic treatment, quality, identity treatments. They consciously made Native Americans only capable of blaming other things other than themselves. For all that was caused by by them taking away their educations, their means to preserve things like education, the means to preserve things like the identity, the ground's identity of relationship to itself, where they can make paradise. They denatured everything to make roles with that positive treatments as identity treatments as criminal and seditious nature. They made this is what the devil's about, a racketeering method, worse than war crimes, worse than just racketeering, but a simple racketeering method with a value. They have all this juxtaposed engineering, only capable of being this. So we have to understand what really revealed each species. That what really reveals positive value, nature, progression, acts, and natures. And we need to do something about it, or it's going to keep demonstrating not just bugs, problems, birds dying. Oh, it doesn't matter. It's survival of the fittest. This is forever nature's course. This is using the order of the delicate, the finite. They take extinct. What they call practical, what they call success. That's being used to prevent people from free speech. Each area of it. They're pretending people have mental diagnosis. They have mental deficiencies with real sick beasts. Campus Marcius rises in these. That's why you have to counter the judges involved with them with the racketeering. Because they are crime methods preventing people free speech. For example, they could hear that and say, oh, well, it's not good to make people scared of seeing a doctor. That's why I told you guys to respond to these doctors forging names, switching names, faking conversations with me. That as their roles with the racketeering, with the Justice Department, Washington, D.C., and criminal uses of on off Washington, D.C. courts and media too, as victims, but as victim predators. It's nothing personal, Mr. Methvin. You guys are victims. Then you guys are blaming other causes. You guys are pretending that there's legitimacy there where there's none. And you guys are preventing free speech. This has got nothing to do with my father's case. It's just a phenomenon of a fact that his co-defendants, former director of the FBI, they had a daughter in my grade. They had a whole bunch of other federal criminals as themselves and tied to them who are involved with racketeering, all with them, a whole bunch of people tied to houses in my area, involved with them further with their principal sex offenders campus, further involved with them criminally, as ones involved with state forensics labs, state police, racketeering uses of them that were roles with the principal other natures of racketeering, but juxtaposed with time with and as roles with sexual crimes against kids and with female judges and with female prosecutors and state's attorneys. There's a problem with Weathersfield at the branch originally and still. These are people on and off CCSU and Paul Manager Ford Drive, involved with that identity of the ground location and the value stream, where they know students are going to walk. They anticipate and set up things they can pretend to perceive, and they could have perceived by people that are acting as knaves, as roles with all that on and off campuses. Sick bees, Campus Marcius rises in the east.